for our hashtag segment. Good morning to you, Megan. We're talking one that, I can say I love the product. I just want to know is that the I guess the general consensus on the Twitter world, or is this one that has the data not supported what's been a absolutely meteoric run for the stock?
Yeah, whenever we look at Chipotle, we're listening for people who are going into the stores themselves. Maybe they're getting carryout, maybe they're getting delivery, and especially in the most recent circumstances in the last few months, we're seeing an extreme surge in delivery and to-go mentions. When we look at the quarter that they're about to report, mentions of people who are using the Chipotle app to get delivery or using the app to place an order ahead and then pick it up are up about 68% year over year. This really peaked in about May, and it's starting to level off now as things open up a bit, but it's still settling in about 28% higher than it was prior to COVID. So I think that this shows that there is an element of this sticky behavior, that people are still using the app and they're still getting delivery. And this is really what's driving Chipotle's growth.
Yeah, Megan, I want to premise this little discussion that I'm going to have with you by saying I'm 100 years old. So, a lot of the technology and things aren't really aimed at my demographic. But that being said, Chipotle's app, which I have on my phone, I know that is amazing, is the most user-friendly app maybe that I've ever touched in my life. And I think that is what's leading people, and you can see the business, you can see the effect on the stock. I mean, how is it possible that a stock like Chipotle can outperform McDonald's in this latest environment? And that has to do with what you were just talking about. Their app and their delivery and takeout is so user friendly that I think it's giving them a leg up. This is not a Chipotle commercial. I know it sounds like one, but I think their app is so user-friendly that it's making everyone just have an easier experience at Chipotle.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And Megan, I want to point out too that when we're looking at this particular chart, it almost looks like a flat line leading up to the spike. But if you really take a look at the scale, that's a 50% rise but before the spike even happened. So this was growing at a very, very fast pace, a very steady pace, and it just accelerated extraordinarily as the shutdowns happened. And to Kevin's point, when you're looking at how they're doing versus things like McDonald's, and you're looking at how they're doing versus more of these legacy players in this space, how much of that is a perception around the brand, and that perception that, Chipotle is maybe it's not the most healthy option out there, but it's a fairly healthy alternative that, it's a quick, convenient way to get dinner, whether it's on the way home from work or nowadays, ordering home for lunch at the stay-at-home office or whatever it might be, that perception around that you're still eating fairly clean and Chipotle being able to deliver that.
Yeah, I think that you guys have both hit on really good points. One thing that you noted is that they were already increasing their delivery rates, the amount of people who were using their apps prior to COVID. So they were already really well positioned. They had already talked about this concept of Chipotlanes, which I think is hysterical, where they're trying to expedite the process of people just wanting to be able to bop in, grab something quickly, and get on with their lives. And another element is this product development. So, they have a lot of new menu items that we've been watching. I think that we came on and talked about the sentiment surrounding queso in March prior to COVID and how much better people took the second round of this queso launch versus the first round of the queso launch. So I think that Chipotle's proved that they can do well with product innovation, and they can also actually execute this delivery demand that really pushed even more consumers to that app. I know I use the app as well, and I think that by far the user experience is insane. It reminds me, sometimes Chipotle prompts me and says, "Hey, you think it's time for lunch?" And I'm like, "You know what, Chipotle, I think it might be." But I think that that's a really good, loop that they have, that they can engage directly with the consumer. It almost reminds me of Nike in a sense, but to that degree, though, there are also very high expectations for this name.
Megan, when it comes to the consumer
Megan,
experience, you talk about, and Kevin talked about it. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I just want to say you're exactly right, Megan. And that's so funny that apparently I'm Chipotlean. I thought I was Irish, but apparently I'm part Chipotlean because I see the same thing. But when we compare them to McDonald's, right? And here's where it gets fascinating. McDonald's in June of 2020, 13,800 stores in the United States. McDonald's, 13,000. Chipotle, 2,600 stores. So they are a fraction, a small fraction of the size of McDonald's. So if you think that this company can't grow and increase their scale, they can. So there's a reason, I think, why their stock is running up. Remember, that doesn't have a big float in terms of their stock, and the opportunity for growth in this company is real, and it's there, guys. Sorry to butt in.
No, it completely is. And Megan, tying that in, actually, great point by Kevin, because that kind of adds to my question here. How has, we know the consumer experience based off what Kevin said and what you've said around the delivery and use of the app and the ease of use has been fairly well received, but as Chipotle has grown so significantly and how they become more and more popular and busier, and there's more and more, consumers going into the same locations, has the sentiment remained okay? Has the consumer still been happy with the product when it's been getting delivered? Has the quality of the food dropped off substantially, or has really the Chipotle end, if you will, been satisfied in the new environment that we're in?
We haven't seen any significant shifts in happiness. I think it's pretty flat. So I think that that's definitely, that's a positive thing for Chipotle moving forward. We've definitely seen sentiment improvement since they went through the whole, making people sick ordeal back in 2018. So I think that, it's positive. They definitely have a loyal consumer base. There is a little bit of uncertainty going into this earnings just because, there is some element of social distancing. So you have to ask, can digital offset the lack of people who are going in and like sitting down inside the store and eating? But from our perspective, looking at data, when we see that investors are really looking for this digital growth, there's nothing from a digital growth perspective to suggest that they're not doing and they're not executing as they should be.